Welcome to Grand Sumo Breakdown,
the unofficial sumo podcast
for official sumo fans.
Welcome to Grand Sumo Breakdown. This is Ryan.
This is Jake.
And this is our Banzuke review for the Haru Basho.
The Basho recommended by 9 out of 10 dentists.
Why is that?
I don't know. I'm not a dentist.
That's fair. And that is if the Haru Basho does come to pass, as
I suppose.
we do have some fears with the coronavirus outbreak in Japan that it could be canceled or could be done in front of not a live studio audience, just no audience whatsoever.
No studio or otherwise.
Yeah, but we're gonna cross our fingers and hope that this remains the Haru Banzuke review and not the Natsu Banzuke review.
Right. That would be the first Basho since the match-fixing scandal?
In 2011, yeah.
Yeah,
I
that
think March
has been
2011.
messed with like that?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And I think right at the top of the show, we should also mention you can now find us on Spotify.
You were going to say fondle us, weren't you?
Hey, if you want to fondle us on Spotify, I'm not against it.
There's a lot of features on that app, apparently.
Yeah. You're going to have to fight my wife afterwards, but you know what? What happens, happens. So, that being said, go to Spotify, download us there, and keep downloading us on whatever you used to download us on.
Over and over and over again. The numbers are what sustain us.
Exactly. So, let's talk about this Banzuke, Jake, and we will start, as always, at the top with the Yokozuna, where they will remain unchanged. On the east side, you will have Hakuho, and on the west side, you will have Kakuryu. So Kakuryu is indeed the Yokozuna Ozeki, the first time that distinction is made since 1982. And to honor this, we actually bought a copy of the Banzuke that we're going to have delivered to us from Japan. It's got a couple of historic things on that Banzuke. It's got the Kakuryu labeled as Yokozuna Ozeki, but it's also going to have a Maegashira 18 rank on it for the first time since 1959.
Oh, man.
So I think that was worth spending a little bit of cash so we can have that stashed away forever. Just a little piece of history for us.
Yeah, and the piece of history, the one-time Tokushoryu makes it up to the joy.
Yes. We'll get more into that later. I have to say I am a little disappointed with the printed Banzuke. Kakuryu's name is barely bigger than Hakuho's because what they do for the Banzuke is they have the Yokozuna Ozeki. His name is like double wide, so it fits under both the Yokozuna rank and the Ozeki rank. Well, what they did with this one is they kind of, on the west side, just made the Yokozuna and Ozeki script smaller. So Kakuryu's name is a little bit bigger, but it's mostly the same size as Hakuho's.
That seems strange, because there's the same number of people in the top division no matter what. So
Yes.
Why would they bother making it wider? Because it's got to take up the same amount of space anyways, right?
Reasons.
Got it. Okay.
And so now that the Banzuke has been printed, Kakuryu, his duties as Yokozuna Ozeki are officially over, and he can just resume his duties as solely Yokozuna, as once again, affects nothing during the Basho except how big his name is on the Banzuke.
I think we've mentioned in the past that we're going to refer to him as Yokozuna Ozeki just to be spiteful, though.
You said you were going to do that.
Yes, we did. Exactly.
Let's move on to the Ozeki rank, which is Takakeisho. Okay, Sekiwake.
And moving on.
Yeah, with the retirement of Goeido, that leaves us, well, actually it would have just been the demotion of Goeido, but he did decide to retire. But yeah, we are left with only one Ozeki for the first time since 1982, that being Takakeisho. Sekiwake on the east side, we will have Asanoyama, who had a 10-5 record at that rank last time, as that was not enough for an Ozeki promotion, but obviously he's not getting demoted after a 10-5 record.
I guess.
And on the west side, I correctly predicted that Shodai would take up that spot after his 13-2 June Yusho performance from Maegashira 4, jumping over Hokuto Fuji, who was 11-4 at Maegashira 2 for that opportunity. And this is actually going to be the second Basho as Sekiwake for both of these guys. Asanoyama's first Basho as Sekiwake was obviously the previous Basho, Hatsu. Shodai's last time as Sekiwake was also Hatsu, but that Hatsu was in 2017. I knew Shodai.
That's like 100 years ago.
I knew Shodai had been Sekiwake once upon a time, but I guess I didn't realize that it's been 3 years since he's been in the Sanyaku ranks. It doesn't feel like Shodai's even been around for 3 years, but he has, and we'll see if he does better the second time around.
Yeah, it could be that he's finally making his potential stick the way that he was expected to originally.
Yeah.
He was kind of on the same tier as Mitakeyumi right when we were starting to record, as like, these could be the next 2 top guys, at the next 2 Ozeki or something.
Yeah. Yeah, and after an 11-4 performance and a 13-2 performance, he's definitely impressing everybody with his sumo. Maybe not Fleric, but everybody else is impressed with Shodai. At the Komosubi rank, we will have Hokuto Fuji on the east side. This is his career high, despite being Komosubi 2 other times in his career. He never made it to the east side of the Komosubi rank. And on the west side, we have Endo, who had a 9-6 record from Maegashira 1, just getting that bump up into Komosubi. Hokuto Fuji, I'm going to give him a snub of the Banzuke candidate, just because on other Banzukes, he could have made it up to Sekiwake. In fact, Hokuto Fuji is the 8th Rikishi ever to have an 11-win Basho at the Maegashira 2 rank, which it always surprises me how few amount of times, like 10-plus win records have happened at like the upper Maegashira ranks. Like I figured, 11 wins, that's probably happened like 20, 25 times. It only happened 8 times in history where Maegashira 2 has gotten 11 wins.
I suppose it's probably like, like getting a 15-0 in Jurio or something. Like if you're good enough to do that, you're going to skip ahead real quick.
And it's not 11 plus wins at Maegashira 2. So this is 11 wins exactly. 12 wins, 13 wins have probably happened there.
Sure.
But half of the 8 Rikishi now, Hokuto Fuji being the 8th, half have made it up to that Sekiwake rank, and the other half only made it up to Komosubi. So a slight snub of the Banzuke to Hokuto Fuji. Shodai just edged him out there. But I noticed a couple of interesting facts for both Hokuto Fuji and Endo. So Hokuto Fuji has been within the same 3 ranks since November of 2018. He hasn't been below Maegashira 2 or above Komosubi since then, and that's a total of 9 Basho, including the upcoming Haru and or Natsu Basho.
That is hilarious. I do know that like he seems to be a lot of the guys that are kind of mainstays in this region of the Banzuke, they've all been like Sekiwake before. That's really interesting to me to realize here that Hokuto Fuji, he's apparently just unlucky, I guess. The times that he has good records, he just can't quite, just the luck of the Banzuke leads him to not get that Sekiwake slot.
And it's actually a very similar story for Endo, who has been hovering between those same 3 ranks, Maegashira 2, Maegashira 1, and Komosubi, for the past 7 Basho since March of 2019. So once again, that 7 Basho includes the upcoming Haru and or Natsu Basho.
Gotcha.
So we will move down to our zone of death, and that we are going to start at Maegashira 1. So on the east side, we are going to have Daisho, and on the west side, we are going to have Takayasu. Both of these guys are dropping out of the Sanyaku ranks, and this is actually going to be the first time since May of 2016 that Takayasu has not been in the Sanyaku ranks. That was 22 straight Basho for him.
Holy cow.
Yeah. And I would like to point out that I have nailed all of these predictions so far.
Yeah, whatever.
So at Maegashira 2 East, we have Okinoumi, and that is going to be my final perfect guess in this streak. We will have another streak coming up.
Is that the most that you've gotten in a row at the very top, or have you done better than that in the past?
I'd have to look into it. It's close. I usually miss one at like the Maegashira 1 or Maegashira 2 rank that breaks the streak. Yeah. I might have had one that goes to Maegashira 3. I'd have to look into it.
Gotcha. The Sanyaku is usually straightforward, but this is where it gets hard.
Yeah, exactly. And then on the west side, we are going to have Tokushoryu, who will be at his career high. This is the biggest jump in rank that we have seen since we've been doing this podcast. And, I mean, he earned it. He had the 14 wins and the U-Show from Maegashira 17 up 15 ranks all the way up to Maegashira 2. So now he has to prove that what he did in Hatsu was not a fluke. And because it's the biggest jump we've ever seen. Got to give him a luck of the Banzuke, make him a luck of the Banzuke candidate, just because we've never seen anything like that.
And it looks like it's a little bit more than you were expecting out of him.
It is. This is my first miss. I had him coming in at Maegashira 4 East. But so I was off by 3 ranks there. Not too bad, but yeah, they definitely brought him in to a little bit higher than I thought. I was listening back on my way over here to our prediction episode, and you had asked me, like, what's the range that I see for Tokushoryu? And I really said outside shot of Maegashira 1, but more likely Maegashira 2 to Maegashira like 6 or 7. And so it looks like because of that Yusho, they pushed him up into the upper range of what I thought was possible. So it's nice to see he landed within the range that I thought was likely.
Yeah. I think it's funny to note here that that's the biggest jump we've seen in our podcast. I don't think it's possible to really get a bigger jump like that than that in the top division.
If he had been lucky with how if Hokuto Fuji and Endo also had losing records and everybody else had losing records, he could easily be like Komosubi right now.
Yeah, I wonder.
But yeah, it's going to be tough for anybody to ever get a 16 rank promotion.
Yeah, because you have to have 16 ranks ahead of you in order to get that promotion.
Exactly, yeah.
Unless they just take unless they take somebody straight to Yokozuna, which I'm sure they do all the time from the very bottom. There's no other real way that you can do that. Because like I was saying earlier, if you can get that kind of a record, you're not going to sit around at Maegashira 17.
You're already at Maegashira 2.
Right, yeah. Exactly. So, yeah, that's funny.
So moving on to Maegashira 3, on the east side, we have Yutakeyama, who I thought was going to be at Maegashira 2 East, so just a small miss for me there. And on the west side, we're going to have Mitakeyumi, another perfect guess for me on that front.
Yeah, and that's nuts. His first basho out of the Sanyaku in, what did we say, like multiple years here.
Yeah.
And he just
almost 3 years.
And the 7 and 8, he's just dropping further. That sucks.
Yeah. The weather is still cold. It'll start turning around this time, so maybe expect 8 and 7, 9 and 6 out of Mitakeyumi this time before he rams into double-digit gear for the summer months.
Ah, yes, of course.
At Maegashira 4 on the east side, we have another career high for Enho, who is jumping up from Maegashira 5 after his 8 and 7 record last time, and joining him at Maegashira 4 on the west side, we have Abi, who is dropping down from Komosubi after a 5 and 10 record. So mention that Enho is at his career high rank. This is Enho's 4th straight basho where he is at his career high rank. In fact, Enho has been at his career high rank in 15 of his 18 total basho that he has competed in. That just shows how much he has skyrocketed since his debut just 3 years ago.
That is insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's gotten one Makekoshi his first time that he was in Juryo. He went 4 and 11.
Yep. And
so he had to run through 2 more basho in the Makushita division. And then only one other Makekoshi in his entire career.
His first basho in Makuuchi.
Yeah, and he managed to surpass that rank again only one basho later.
Yep.
That is hilarious.
Yeah, he can't keep it up. But if he keeps
keeps
doing the 8 and 7s, he's got about another year or so where each thing could be a career high. But after that point, it's only so far up you can go.
Yeah, I mean, to get an Ozeki run, you have to have 3 in a row of really good basho towards the top of the Banzuke.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they have to be really, really, really good 8 and 7s that somehow still get him that Ozeki promotion right away.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll figure out the math. I can make this work.
All right, perfect. And Abi, as I mentioned, dropping from Komosubi, he was there for 4 straight basho, so he's dropping out of the Sanyaku ranks after a small extended stay for him there. And then our final guy in the zone of death, it is Maegashira 5 on the east side, Ryuden. This guy was actually one of my biggest misses on this entire Banzuke. I had him up at Maegashira 3, and I'm making him a snub of the Banzuke candidate because he's only jumping up 3 ranks after a 10 and 5 record. So he was Maegashira 8, had a 10 and 5 record. He's only ending up at Maegashira 5. He easily could have been ahead of like Tokushoryu or Abi here. Not entirely sure why he's getting the snub here, but yeah, this is probably my biggest surprise on the entire Banzuke.
Yeah, that's interesting. I would have, just looking back at the January Banzuke, it looks like I'm kind of surprised Abi didn't fall further.
I had Abi ending up, I think, right here where Ryuden did at Maegashira 5 East, so I was only off by a half rank on Abi. But yeah, not entirely sure why Ryuden got the snub here. My guess is because, like, Abi, he went up against Sanyaku Rikshi, which it really seems like they give the benefit of the doubt to those guys who face a tougher competition. And so all the guys ahead of Ryuden went up against this tougher competition, with the exception of Yu Takayama. But Yu Takayama had an 11-4 record, so he's going to jump over Ryuden.
Okay, because they were pretty close to each other last Basho, too.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, so that's the top 16 guys. That's why you're splitting up Maegashira 5?
Yep. So that is the joy. That is, as long as everybody remains healthy, these are the guys that are going to face all of the top rankers. Once we move below this, these guys might not necessarily face any Yokozuna or Ozeki. In the first week, they definitely won't be scheduled to face them. It'll depend on records in the second week to see if maybe they eke into that, like a Maegashira 17 Tokushoryu facing Ozeki Takakeisho, another kind of unheard of matchup.
Well, we've got 2 more Maegashira 17 this time.
And a Maegashira 18, so...
Yeah, and we are 1 out of 1 this decade in having the last ranked guy win the Yusho, so...
That's a fair point.
Yeah, momentum there. It's a pattern.
Definitely. So... now that we're in the mid-Banzuke, we're going to finish out Maegashira 5. On the west side, we have Onosho, and this was a perfect guess for me, and let's see if you can count along with how many straight perfect guesses I get from here on out.
I bet you're going to tell us.
I will, but I want you to count along as well. It'll make me feel good. I'll know if you're not doing it as you listen, so make sure you guys do it.
Yes, you. We're talking to you.
Steve.
I hope that we have at least one listener named Steve.
At least one. I mean, there's got to be one, right?
I hope so.
All right. If your name is Steve and you feel personally attacked by this episode, feel free to tweet us to let us know that we did our job correctly. All right.
And then we'll do it more.
Yeah. Maegashira 6 on the east side, we're going to have Miyogiryu. He is dropping down 5 ranks after a 5-10 record at Maegashira 1. And on the west side, we're going to have Kagayaki, who is jumping up 5 ranks after a 10-5 record from Maegashira 11. See, Kagayaki can jump up 5 ranks. Why couldn't Ryuden?
Yeah.
Would have been so simple, Banzuke Selection Committee.
What the F?
Yeah. So Kagayaki, this will be his 7th Basho above the rank of Maegashira 8 West. He has yet to have a winning record above that rank. So this will be his 7th chance. We'll see if he can do it this time.
Yeah, that is newly promoted villain of the podcast, Kagayaki.
Yeah. I don't know quite villain, just guy we don't care about or for at all.
Yeah, I think we may have talked about his technique on the last Basho at some point, but like his like neutralizing technique that Wada pointed out to us. Mm-hmm. That now that we know about it, we can't really unsee it, and that's gotten really annoying to me.
At Maegashira 7, we have the Who Care pair of Takara Fuji and Tamawashi. Takara Fuji dropping down just 1 rank after a 7-8 record at Maegashira 6. Tamawashi dropping down 4 ranks after a 5-10 record at Maegashira 3.
And we can back that title up with data.
We can. Tamawashi, nobody voted for him as his favorite Rikshi in our popularity poll.
Out of more than 600 people replying to this.
Although we did have one Twitter follower who responded to one of our tweets that said Tamawashi was their favorite. So next time they'll have to take our popularity poll and have their voice represented in the data.
Otherwise, you don't count.
Exactly. And Takara Fuji, I think he had at least 1 vote, but it wasn't a whole lot more than 1 if it was.
Yeah.
So Maegashira 8 on the east side, we're going to have show. Oh, by the way, both of those absolutely perfect predictions. Same with the Maegashira 6 ranks. That's 5 in a row if you're counting along.
Just exquisitely perfect picks.
Say it again.
No, you got 1.
All right. Maegashira 8 on the east side, we have Shohozan, and on the west side, we have Kiribayama, who will be at his career high rank in just his second Basho in the Makuuchi division. This is a 9-rank jump from being the second to last ranked Rikshi in the previous Basho at Maegashira 17 East. The only guy ranked below him, Maegashira 17 West Tokushoryu, who won the Yusho. By far the best performance by a pair of Maegashira 17 Rikshi in the history of sumo wrestling. I don't even need to look at data to back that up. I have no doubt in my mind. Both of those spot-on perfect predictions, bringing us up to 7 in a row.
I will say, I do have to admit, I am very impressed with picking Kiribayama right, just because that is the bigger the jump, the harder it usually is to get them exactly right. And yeah, coming from Maegashira 17, well done, sir.
You're right. I absolutely deserve praise for that.
Why did I think that would be a good idea?
At Maegashira 9 on the east side, we have Takanosho, and on the west side, we have Tochi Noshin. Both perfect guesses on my part, putting us up to 9. Takanosho remains at his same rank from the Hatsubasho. He had a 7-8 record there, but just due to how this Banzuke played out, he is remaining at that rank, so he's going to be a Luck of the Banzuke candidate. Tochi Noshin, he could also be a Luck of the Banzuke candidate. He is only dropping 3 ranks after a 5-10 record, so kind of the inverse Ryuden on this Banzuke, where Ryuden only jumped up 3 ranks for a 10-5 record. Tochi Noshin's only dropping down 3 ranks for a 5-10 record.
Huh.
And Tochi Noshin is actually going to be at his lowest rank since May of 2017 when he was Maegashira 10 East. So, kind of just showing his decline in the recent years in the recent months after some injuries have plagued him at the Ozeki rank. At Maegashira 10 on the east side, we have Sadano Umi. He is another Luck of the Banzuke candidate, as he's another one of the guys that had a 7-8 record in the previous Basho and did not drop down the Banzuke at all. And on the west side, we have Tochi Ozan, who we will have one more Luck of the Banzuke candidate. He is jumping up 7 ranks after only a 9-6 record from Maegashira 16. So Tochi Ozan gets our 3rd biggest jump on this Banzuke with just a 9-6 record.
What the F?
I mean, we kind of talked about this area of the Banzuke on our preview episode, kind of Maegashira 8 West down to Maegashira 12-ish. There's just nobody deserved to be at these ranks, so you're going to see lesser demotions like Tochi Noshin only dropping 3 ranks and greater promotions like Kiribayama and Tochi Ozan.
Gotcha.
So that's why both of those guys are our Luck of the Banzuke candidates.
Yeah, you got quite a list of those this time.
Yeah. And Jake, does that say 2 more perfect predictions on our outline there?
Sure doesn't.
That's false, because it does bring us
it
up.
does. It literally doesn't say that. You didn't write that in your outline.
Whatever. Just because it literally doesn't say what I said. 11 straight perfect predictions if you're counting along, which you don't need to because I'm counting for you. But damn it, Steve, you better be counting too.
Steve.
All right, we're going to get to the bottom of the Banzuke now. Maegashira 11 on the east side. We have Chiyo Tairyu, our last in a string of Luck of the Banzuke candidates, because he is also remaining at his same rank from Hatsu after a 7-8 record at Maegashira 11 East. And on the west side, we're going to have Teritsu Yoshi, who is jumping up 3 ranks after an 8-7 record from Maegashira 14. Did I mention that both of those were correct? I think so.
You just did, yes.
Yeah, so that brings us up to 13. At Maegashira 12, on the east side, we have Ishiura, and on the west side, we have Ikioi. Ishiura is dropping down 2 ranks after a 6-9 record for Maegashira 10, and Ikioi is jumping up 3 ranks after a 8-7 record for Maegashira 15. 2 more correct predictions, bringing us up to 15 in a row.
So moving on from Ryan being perfect here, those guys are also just a little bit generous, it seems, but on the generous end of normal.
Yeah, and that's kind of what you begin to see at the bottom part of this Banzuke. I'm going to get into it a little bit more, but this is a free-for-all down here. This is where you get guys like Meisei Kodayuki, who had terrible records at the top of the Banzuke, just dropping forever, and you don't really know where they're going to land. Juryo Promotees are always who knows where they're going to end up, and then you also have to deal with guys like Ikioi and Ishiura, who are at the bottom of the Banzuke, still need to be at the bottom of the Banzuke, but where do you put them between the guys dropping and the guys coming up? So you kind of see a lot bigger movement at the bottom of the Banzuke than you do at the top of the Banzuke for records like 8-7, 9-6, stuff like that. At Maegashira 13 on the east side, we have Kodo Shogiku, who should also have a Luck of the Banzuke candidate because he also did not drop any ranks after a 7-8 record. So we had 4 guys who had a 7-8 record this Basho that did not drop in rank. So a little bit of luck for them. And based on the fact that we have one less guy and the Sanyaku ranks this time than we did last time, they're actually ahead of one more guy in the Banzuke than they were last time. So kind of technically a promotion for these guys that only went 7 and 8.
Failing upwards.
Exactly.
Classic Chiyotairyu.
And on the west side of Maegashira 13, we are going to have Aoyama. He is only dropping down 5 ranks, and after a 4-11 record from Maegashira 8, a little generous, not generous enough to earn him a Luck of the Banzuke
not like
candidate.
out of the ordinary, just kind of on the edge of normal.
Yes, and so that is 2 more perfect predictions, which is
Steve, tell us. Say it with us, Steve.
Yeah. So Steve counted correctly. He had us at 17 straight perfect predictions, which is unfortunately where the streak will end, and my last perfect prediction on this Banzuke. But you know what? I feel pretty good. I'm pretty sure that's my longest streak of perfect predictions ever. So pretty happy with that 17 in a row perfect streak. I'm gonna brag about that for a while.
Yeah, I see in your notes. Remember to toot own horn.
Yeah, nobody. You certainly weren't going to do it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, it literally reads, and so my streak of 17 straight perfect guesses ends. Jake won't do it, so I am here to toot my own horn.
Yeah, good job.
Yep.
Okay.
Maegashira 14 on the east side, we have Kaisei. He is jumping up 2 ranks after an 8-7 record from Maegashira 16. I only thought he was going to make it up to Maegashira 15. And on the west side, this is another guy tied with Ryuden for my biggest miss on the Banzuke, Nishikigi, jumping up to Maegashira 14 west. I thought he was only going to make it up to Maegashira 16 west. So,
and he's coming from Juryo.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Scroll down over on this one. I want to see where. I want to see a little bit of Juryo
Nishikigi
there.
is coming up from Juryo 4 after an 11-4 record.
Oh, well. Good for him.
Yeah.
He's looking to reclaim his Nishikigi slot at the very, very bottom of the Banzuke.
Yep. And so this is, like I said, just me justifying why I missed all of these guys at the bottom here, but it really is just a free-for-all because who knows where any of these will end up.
With all that horn tooting that you did about how good you did earlier, I'm glad that you're sticking with the pattern and elaborating on how poorly you are doing right now.
Hey, I keep myself accountable, but if I'm doing good, somebody's got to say it, and I know you well enough to know that you're not going to do it.
Unless it's one of those like legally mandated Basho punishments that I have to do.
Yes.
Yeah, that's kind of all you get.
Maegashira 15 on the east side, we have Tsurugisho, and on the west side, we have Chiyomaru. They both dropped 1 rank further than I thought they would, but at least the Banzuke committee kept those 2 together after they had the same record from the same rank. They got in a bad habit of breaking them apart in recent Banzukes, so it just
Can't have that.
Well, it just makes predicting the Banzuke so much easier. It's like, okay, these guys are right next to each other. They have the same record. They're going to be right next to each other next time. Stop inserting people in between them, Banzuke selection committee.
Yeah, and Tsurugisho, hopefully he doesn't drop further, but he did have what appeared to be a serious leg injury at some point in that Basho, didn't he?
Yeah, but he fought
And then
through
he
that
managed
and
to finish all 15 days, though.
yeah, he finished all 15 days. He actually managed to win a few matches at the end. Wasn't looking quite as bad at the end of the Basho as it was halfway through right after that injury, so maybe it wasn't as bad as we initially thought.
Yeah, he certainly helped keep away a lot more damage that could have happened.
Yeah, Maegashira 16, 2 guys that we need to remind Jake that exist. Azumaru on the east side, and on the west side, Shima no Umi.
I am 100% positive I have never heard either of those names.
I missed both of those guys by a half rank. Azumaru is just jumping up 1 rank after he's dropping down 1 rank after a 7-8 record for Maegashira 15, and Shima no Umi is dropping down 2 ranks after a 6-9 record for Maegashira 14. At Maegashira 17, on the east side, we have Meisei. I had him ending up at Maegashira 16 in my prediction, so he's down a little bit further than I thought, but he is dropping down... carry the 12 spots after his 1-14 record. He was at Maegashira 5, and he ended up at Maegashira 17. And on the west side, we have Dayamami. Dayamami had an 11-4 record from Juryo 6 in the previous Basho, so he's getting quite a bit of a jump up. And Meisei was actually somebody that Jake predicted was going to be my worst pick in the preview episode, so Jake gets no prize for correctly guessing my worst pick, which if he had said Ryuden or Nishikigi or even Kotoyuki, he would have gotten it right. Because as we move on to Maegashira 18, on the east side, we have Koto.
I just one note on that. I don't care about your prizes.
Yeah, I don't care.
Okay, proceed.
On the east side of Maegashira 18, the first time since 1959, we have Koto no Waka, who is making his career high because this is his Makuuchi debut, and he's also a Luck of the Banzuke candidate. So Jake will do a little bit of celebrating in a little bit, but it's kind of a surprise to have Koto no Waka here and not Kotoyuki, who got demoted down to Juryo.
It's not a surprise.
The popular pick was only to have 2 guys be brought up from Juryo and not 3. Most people thought that Kotoyuki was going to stick around, including me. But the Banzuke committee seems to have set a precedent with these last 2 Bashos that if you get 0 wins or you get hurt from like Maegashira 3 or below, you're going to drop down to Juryo.
Because screw you, apparently.
Yeah, so Kotoyuki did end up as the top-ranked guy in Juryo, the same as Tomokaze, who pulled out of the Kyushu Basho for Maegashira 3 after getting no wins.
And exploding his whole leg off. They both ended up at the top Juryo rank. So it seems like you have to get at least 1 win at the top of the Banzuke to stay in Makuuchi. I thought dropping all the way from Maegashira 3 to Juryo 1, which is essentially a 16-rank drop for Kotoyuki, I thought that was going to be a little too far for him to go, and I think that's probably the biggest drop that we've seen, because even Tomokaze, he would have ended up at what's right now like Makuuchi 18 based on like the order of things. So Kotoyuki dropped further than Tomokaze did as he passed more Rikshi on his way down to Juryo. And interesting to note, Tomokaze, because his leg exploded, he also sat out in January and got 0 wins again.
Yep.
But this time his demotion was smaller. He's still in Juryo.
Yeah, it seems like it takes at least 2 absences to be booted out of Juryo.
Yeah, Well, I guess it's what I'm getting at is it's kind of interesting that it's like, nope, you're kicked out of Makuuchi, but that rule kind of ends in Juryo. It's like you don't get that complete boot out for missing it.
Yeah. So that is the complete Banzuke for Haru and or Natsu. So we mentioned one of the guys that is not on this Banzuke that was on the previous one. That is Kotoyuki. The other guy who got demoted down to Juryo is Kotoeko, who had a 2-13 record from Maegashira 13. So there's no way he was going to stick around. And the third name that is off of this Banzuke is not because he had a poor record. It is because he retired, and that is Goedo.
Well, he retired because he had a poor record.
Well, yeah, but semantics. If you have not listened to it, we put out a podcast recapping Goedo's whole career. I did my best to be, I wouldn't say nice to him, but not overtly mean.
Yeah, you were personable.
And it sounds like Jake thinks that I accomplished that, so that's a big win for me. It is kind of weird knowing that this is the last time we're going to bring up Goedo on one of these Banzuke episodes. I'm sure we'll find ways to bring him up on like our main preview and recap episode somehow, but no reason to talk about Goedo on these episodes anymore, and it's just kind of weird to think about.
Yeah, I mean, we'll definitely hear more from him because he is staying on as a coach, but like, yeah, it's definitely one more thing that's going to be unpredictable, having one fewer Ozeki up there at the top.
Yeah. So let's kind of take a look at how'd I do in predicting this Banzuke. I got 27 perfect predictions out of a possible 42. That is 64%, which is pretty good, and I feel good about it, but it's not my best. I once got 33 perfect predictions for us.
That's like, what, 72%?
That is exactly 72% human calculator, Jake. Good job there.
Yeah, that was my brain.
And not something written on the sheet of paper in front of him.
Steve can't see that.
I also correctly predicted 2 Rikshi to be at the rank that they ended up at, but the wrong east or west side. So that's 29 total correct guesses at the correct rank, and that is 69%. Grow up, Jake.
Nice.
Grow up.
Never.
And so we had a total of 31 ranks that I missed by. So, like, Nishikigi, I had him at Maegashira. What did I have him at?
Whatever. You were off by 4, though.
Yeah, I was off by 4. And that includes a half rank, like East and West. So it was only 2 numbered ranks, but 4 ranks total. So if you add all of the ranks that I was off by, it adds up to 31, which is an average error of 0.738 per Rikshi, which I like being below 1. My previous best, however, was 12. I did really good one time.
You will never top that one.
I will never top that one.
Spectacular. It's easier to compliment past Ryan. It's easier to compliment him than present Ryan.
He's not here to lord it over you.
Yeah. We can talk crap about him because he's not here to defend himself.
Past Ryan's stupid.
Yeah.
Getting
The guy sucks.
better prediction than present Ryan. So my worst guess on this Banzuke, kind of 2 categories for this. So Kota Yuki, I have him on here because I thought he would remain in the Makuuchi division, but he did drop to Juryo. Based on where I had him positioned, I was only actually off by 2 ranks, but because he is not on the Makuuchi Banzuke, we'll count him as my worst guess, and then just purely by rank, it was Ryuden and Nishikigi being off by 4 ranks for both of those guys.
I was off, by the way, on mine, I was off by a little bit on Koto Yuki because I thought they were going to drop him to Sandanme. I was hoping they would drop him to Sandanme.
Which he deserves, absolutely.
Of course.
How dare you just pull out of a basho before it even begins?
That
the
coward.
nerve.
Tomokaze, on the other hand, like, he pulled out. He was being very brave, I think.
Yeah.
Didn't want to aggravate an injury, all that. Yeah.
Yeah, very smart of him. But Koto Yuki,
That rat bastard.
some people. Just looking at some of the stats on this Banzuke. So the biggest jumps, as we mentioned, 15 rank jump for Toku Shoryu and a 9 rank jump for Kiribayama. Maegashira 17 representing really hard.
Let's see if they can keep that streak going.
I doubt it. Let's see. Who do we got at Maegashira 17 this time? Meisei and Daiamami.
Meisei, who's probably hurt.
Breath. Yeah.
And Daiamamu, who's coming up from Juryo.
Yeah. So
Oof.
not going to have a good repeat performance for the Maegashira 17s. Our biggest drops on the Banzuke, Koto Yuki dropping down 16 ranks, so even bigger drop than jump for Toku Shoryu. And Meisei dropping down 12 ranks. 5 Rikshi are going to be at their career high. Hokuto Fuji, Toku Shoryu, Enho, Kiribayama, and Koto Nowaka. 1 Rikshi will be making his Makuuchi debut in Koto Nowaka. And so now we have to officially award the snub of the Banzuke. And for that one, out of the 3 guys that I mentioned, Hokuto Fuji, Ryuden, and Nishikigi, I don't think I mentioned that Nishikigi was a snub of the Banzuke candidate. Did I even... You know what? It looks like I forgot to delete something from the thing that I copy and pasted over from my last outline. Don't worry about Nishikigi.
Terrible.
He was never a snub of the Banzuke candidate. It was only Hokuto Fuji and Ryuden, and I'm giving it to Ryuden. Like I said, he was my biggest surprise, only getting a 3-rank promotion after 10 wins. And the luck of the Banzuke, it can only go to Toku Shoryu, jumping up 15 ranks, the biggest jump that we have ever seen. So... if you get that, you are automatically the luck of the Banzuke. So if somebody gets a 16-rank jump someday, remind me that they have to win luck of the Banzuke.
I don't think that I'll have to remind you.
It's a prestigious award. I'm sure Toku Shoryu will treasure this right next to his Emperor's Cup. They're on the same level of prestige.
Exactly. They are equal prestige of this award.
And so that is going to wrap up our Banzuke talk on this podcast. But as we brought up at the end of our Banzuke preview for the Haru Basho, Jake and I have a little contest going on between ourselves to see who can lose weight the quickest. And the most up-to-date stats are we've both lost, like 2.5 pounds?
We're pushing 3 pounds,
Yeah.
which, I mean, right away we basically just pooped like 2 pounds, and once we stopped eating quite so much as normal, it was just it was a lot slower.
So
But
what had happened, and I got a little bit of beef with Jake, is we had agreed that the day after the Super Bowl is when we were going to start keeping track, and that's when our stats would start. And so both him and I pigged out at the Super Bowl.
it's not enough to argue in private. We need to put this on our show and everything.
Yeah. And then I think Jake got scared because in the 2 days after the Super Bowl, I lost 4 pounds. And then he's like, whoa, how about we start recording it now? And so since then, I've only lost 2.5 pounds. Since the contest really started, I've lost 6.5 pounds. So really, I feel like I'm leading at this point.
You can say what you want, but I was not going to honor without putting up a fight. I was not going to honor your prodigious pooping skills as weight loss. So
It still counts, damn it.
well, it counts to you. And then when we actually get to our 5 pounds, one of us will have to do a punishment from the bowl of punishment.
I was so close. I had gotten down to 190.2, which is 0.6 pounds away. But that happened just this past Friday, which is right before our friends David and Caitlin came in town for a big group friend hangout. And
Our Christmas that we finally got together.
yes, on February 22nd. But
It's still winter. It counts.
David loves food. And David loves a lot of food. And so my wife and I took him and his lovely wife, newlyweds, good for them, out to breakfast both mornings. And I did not hold back at either one.
I saw the picture of the burrito.
Yeah. Oh, it was so good. It was topped with chili.
It was formidable.
And like a pineapple ghost pepper sauce. It was really good. Worth it.
You should go get another one.
I might. So I was down at 190.2, back up to like 192. I'm really not worried about that. 2 days of going back to my usual diet of will get me back down to that point. So, Jake, why don't you tell all the 2 people still listening? I hope one of them's you, Steve.
Stick with it, Steve.
Yeah. How are you doing the weight loss? How are you going about losing the weight?
I am going at this point, I am almost exclusively going about it by portion control. I mean, obviously that sounds really straightforward, but like for me,
Actually doing it is the hard part.
Exactly. Putting away the leftovers after I scoop myself a bowl of dinner. That's like the hardest part for me. And I think it's what's probably the reason I've been able to lose the 3-ish pounds that I have so far. I scoop a bowl of chili or whatever it is that we cooked that night. I honestly am not changing what I eat all that much, but the leftovers, they go in the fridge right away. And, they're not going to sit there and taunt me for a second bowl or something like that.
Yeah.
Is that kind of what you're up to? Or what?
It's mostly the same. I'm also doing the intermittent fasting where I'm only going to eat between 12 o'clock and 8 o'clock. And so what all that's doing is keeping me from, I never really had much of a breakfast anyways, but like if somebody brings in donuts or something at work, I'm avoiding those, which is really hard because donuts is my favorite food group.
Donuts, by the way, not quite as unhealthy as you would think.
So I should start eating donuts
You
again?
should eat lots of them.
Okay.
But like I always thought that they would be like completely devastating, but they're only like, a couple hundred calories, which is like not that absurd for a morning snack.
But yeah, if I eat one donut, though, that means I've eaten 3 donuts.
Yes, and that is the problem.
Yeah. And it also keeps me from getting like late night snacks or desserts or something like that.
Because you have to follow the rules, and that's how you're staying disciplined.
Exactly, yeah. And I've also just been kind of doing the same thing as Jake, just more portion control, waiting after I finish my supper is like, okay, am I still really hungry after like 15, 20 minutes to get a little something extra, making sure I'm putting over my leftovers before I've started eating supper. So that's really helped out a lot. I also was able to run a couple of times this weekend. In February, got up to 50 degrees, so I was able
Classic
to go out
Midwest
and run a little bit. And so you're in trouble, Jake, once it's warm enough where I can just run all the time. If I keep this same diet up.
Right back to that place you got that breakfast burrito.
It's within...
And then limp home.
It's not too far. I probably could run there. But yeah. So,
Don't. Just drive.
So that is our current spot. Nobody has hit the first 5-pound goal to do a punishment. We will do our next update probably on the Banzuke prediction for hopefully Natsu. Hopefully we do have the Haru Basho, but it sounds like the Japan Sumo Association, they're saying if even one person within that association gets coronavirus, they're just going to cancel the Basho. They're also keeping open the option of doing the basho without anybody attending, with no audience, which I think would be really interesting to watch.
It'd be fascinating. It would be a bummer, but it would be fascinating to see, because it would be, for the rest of our lives, it would be like, hey, remember that one basho where they had no fans?
Yeah.
And the video would be really weird.
Yes. But I think that is going to wrap up this podcast. So if you enjoyed this podcast, you can leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast listening service, which includes Spotify now.
Yeah, do they do it by stars or something? Or whatever, just review us.
Yeah, whatever Spotify does, give us the best.
5 Spotifys.
Yes.
Rate us 5 Spotifys.
All the Spotifys.
Find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and all that junk. Everything it also goes up on our blog, GrandSumoBreakdown.com.
If you have any comments, questions, or corrections, you can send us an email at grandsumobreakdown@gmail.com, or you can leave us a voicemail at 805-613-7866. That is 805-613-SUMO.
See you, Steve.
Yeah, bye, Steve. But before we say bye, Steve, remember that our preview for the hopefully Haru Basho will be coming out in about a week, and the Basho is starting on March 8th. Okay, now goodbye, Steve.
Bye, Steve.
Thank you for listening to Grand Sumo Breakdown. Until next time,
Throw your salt high.
And keep moving forward.